The Finance and Physical Resources Committee meeting. I have to press and hold too? No.
You don't, just press it. Raise it.
Okay then. Good morning. It is my pleasure to welcome everyone to the Finance and Physical Resources Committee meeting on Tuesday, May 7th. It is 8:30 a.m. and we will start with public comment. Is there any public that would like to address us this morning? Okay, seeing none, we will close public comment and we'll move to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Support.
Press that button.
Yeah, hang on, help me out. Who moved it?
Motion.
Thank you.
Support.
Excellent.
It's like Jeopardy.
Any items have to be removed? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. That brings us to item 3 from Fiscal Services. Wayman?
Yes, this is a request to the board to authorize a summer 2019 general operating property tax levy pursuant to state law. A notice of public hearing concerning the 2019 county budget was published in a newspaper of general circulation on October 28, 2018, and a public hearing concerning the budget was held on November 8, 2018. The Kent County Board of Commissioners adopted a fiscal year 2019 appropriation on November 29, 2018. The 2019 budget, as adopted, requires the levy of 4.2571 mills for general operating purposes to be authorized for the 2019 summer tax billing, which has a tax levy date of July 1, 2019. Funds derived from the levy of this millage will be utilized to support the previously adopted fiscal year 2019 general operating purposes.
Thank you, Wayman. Is there a motion to
So
approve?
Support.
Moved and supported, and questions, comments, and discussion. Commissioner Bukowski?
Well, I feel the need to ask Steve a question.
Oh, no, if Steve's not, sorry, I'll do it another time.
You sure?
Totally sure.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Commissioner Morgan?
The July 1 budgets are with the state. Are they in line with the state budget? Is that why it's July 1st? Or?
It's the, let's explain. Let's have Steve talk about it.
I'm sorry, Commissioner, what was the question?
I didn't really understand why it's in line with July 1st. Is that in line with the state budget or the appropriation here?
It's the tax year. He's asking if, in fact, is it aligned with the state budget to July 1 date? Is that alignment with the state budget?
I'm sorry, I'm having a real bad time today with the hearing aids, and they're not, it's not sinking in.
The property tax levy is for 2019, just general operating year that we're in right now. So last year, those taxes that were, we changed the years that the taxes were to be levied. Remember when we had the change? It used to be December 1.
It got pushed back in
July.
2004. Okay.
Oh, I should remember that.
Yes, Commissioner
Well,
Bukowski. Wait, don't go, Steve.
Hey, Steve. Mr.
Marvin?
No, it's a question.
It's a question for Steve.
Okay.
So
I'll get him another time.
Got it. Yes, maybe we should. All right, anyone else? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion passes. That brings us to item number 4 from Community Corrections. Wayman?
This is a request to the board to approve the annual Community Corrections Comprehensive Plan, an application for funding under PA 511 of 1988. Public Act 511 of 1988 provides funding for community corrections advisory boards to administer and appropriate programs to provide alternatives to incarceration for offenders. The state requires a resolution approving the plan submission from the Board of Commissioners. The anticipated grant period is October 1, 2019 to September 30th, 2020. It is expected the grant will be renewable and appropriation requests will be forthcoming after approval of the plan. So moved.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Questions, comments, and discussion? Yes, Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I see the memo on it.
Could we get a copy of so if I'm reading this correctly, we are approving the plan that's already been developed by the Community Corrections Advisory
Correct.
Board. Could we get a copy of that ahead of the full board meeting? I have every reason to trust the work of the advisory board, but it doesn't appear like we got it in our packet.
Want to respond to that, Matthew?
Slightly different. This is to approve the plan that will be going in, and then the appropriations budget will be coming. So we can send you the draft list of the proposed activities of the committee and get that to you.
Okay, anyone else? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion passes. That brings us to item number 5, also from Kent County Community Action.
This is a request to approve the Kent County Community Development Annual Action Plan for July 1, 2019 through June 30, 2020, to authorize the board chair or designee to execute the grant documents related to the plan and approve extensions, amendments, and increases to the grant appropriation to not exceed 15% of the original award, and to appropriate $2.9 million in revenue to the 2019-20 Community Development Block Grant, Home Investment Partnership, and Emergency Solutions Grant programs contingent upon execution of the contract. Kent County is qualified as an urban county, which makes it eligible to receive funds from the United States Department of Housing, Urban and Development for its 38th year as an entitlement community. The 5-year extended consolidated plan for July 1, 2016 through June 30, 2021 consists of needs assessment, market analysis, and related goals and objectives, and a prerequisite of obtaining CDBG, home, and ESG funding from HUD. The grant application, referred to as an annual action plan, contains a description and budget for CDBG, home, ESG-funded activities proposed to be undertaken between July 1, 2019 and June 30, 2020, including CDBG projects requested by local units of governments. The application allocates $2.9 million in funding that includes CDBG of $1.7 million, home of $916,000, and SEG of $149,000, and recognizing an additional $100,000 in anticipated program income from the CDBG Housing Rehabilitation Program.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported, and questions, comments, and discussion. Yes, Commissioner Voorhees.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our CDBG does not cover all of the entities of government within the county, am I correct?
That's
Like
correct.
Wyoming gets their own, is there other entities?
Rockford, and you want to explain the other?
Good morning.
Good morning. The CDBG funds are used for out county, so we cannot do activities in the city of Grand Rapids or the city of Wyoming.
Consider Elk County entities.
And at times,
It's
there
through
have
the
been
county,
others-
otherwise they get their own direct,
Yeah,
like I know Wyoming always has.
Yes,
but-
and others have attempted at times to go, to be without this too. I believe Kentwood at one point considered it, as well as Rockford, Lowell, and I don't know if they're in now. Are they all in now, those 3 locations?
They have opted to stay with us.
Okay.
They have not gone solo.
Okay.
If I may, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Is that a decision of the federal agency, or is it a decision just locally?
It's a local decision because they all qualify. Lowell, Rockford, and Kentwood would qualify on their own, but it would be very, it's based on a formula, so it would be minimal funding, where if they come into us, they might get more than what they would get on their own.
Okay,
And then we administer it, so that's worth its weight in gold.
good, thank you. Of course, whenever the county administrates something, that's worth gold. I agree.
Yes, Commissioner Morgan.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hang on, I gotta press my button.
Not used to this. So this is still based on low to moderate income families and tracts. And 2 questions, I guess. Can I just ramble on and put them all into one? So it's pretty stringent guidelines to use it in some areas, and when we were talking about the lead task force and some other areas of need that maybe could open up the community development program, because it's been in force, it's been a long entitlement program to Kent County. I was just wondering, are they ever going to relax some of the standards or some of the requirements so more of the communities can use some of this money, and especially for some kind of specific purpose, other than following the tract of low to moderate income and all the restrictions with it?
That's a great question, and that could go.
It's a long question, but.
The restrictions are developed at the federal level with HUD and the Housing and Urban Development Department. So I'm not sure. I've worked for over 20 years with HUD products, and they've only become more restrictive across the years. It's always been the area median income, up to 80% of area median income. And for the entitlement zones, it's always been some target areas based on the area median incomes. I'm not sure that it's ever going to become more lax.
It's going to change anytime soon.
Haven't heard that.
Yeah, one of the things, though, we have been working with the local units to figure out how we could combine projects to make bigger projects. So that's one thing that we are attempting to do to leverage the amount of dollars that we see as a region. So, but restrictions probably are going to continue.
Commissioner Antor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple questions. Oops. Slow. Couple of questions. What qualifies us as an urban county? What's the criteria behind that?
The population and the area median incomes. So it's a formula.
Okay, the fact that we have some areas, some cities like Wyoming, Rockford, not in alliance with us, does that affect that at all?
Well, no, those numbers are included in the numbers.
Okay. And then the second question, I agree with Commissioner Morgan. It seems like a lot of these areas, as far as CDBG, it's tough to say sometimes. I've noticed sometimes that communities they'll have to opt out of something that they really need in order to comply, and they'll end up building a sidewalk where they didn't really need one, but they do it because that's where the money qualified them for. And I think it is time for some reform in how these communities are able to spend the money. I think the PFAS issue is a great example, and we're looking for the greater good, and sometimes I don't think they're doing a good job at steering money where it's needed. I don't like you have to comply for this money. If you don't have anything that you're going to be able to comply with, you should at least be able to get something that you really need that benefits the entire region.
Right, and over the course of the last 2 years, we have gone to an application process for this money with a scoring matrix. And the scoring matrix has the scores that are based on need and who's going to be who it's going to benefit the most. And so the projects that were funded for 2019, which this funding relates to, are those projects that scored the highest. We no longer reserve money for a township or an area based on a pot of money. It has to be, they have to reply to the RFP, which we held. And actually this year, there are some, a huge sidewalk project that we're doing, but it's being done together. So we're saving costs on the engineering and the contracting for for all of the services, and we're working with purchasing to really help us get the best deal for that project. But all the other projects that scored and are going to be funded were based on need and how it scored among the area median income for the population in which that township is in.
Then just the public health component, usually this is bricks and mortar type work. It would be nice if they could at least reform it to include public health. That benefits everybody in the area, and I don't know how you do that. Good luck, I suppose, but it's just a little frustrating sometimes that the money's out there, but they may not be able to get it because, you haven't dotted all the i's and crossed all the t's, even though there's a great need in a different area that could be used, and they're unable to, so.
Right, and we do have a grant that's the Children's Health Initiative Program, and we are working with the city of Grand Rapids for lead abatement for children who have elevated blood levels. So that was a special grant that's out there through CDBG and HUD, and then Department of Health and Human Services. So they did see the need there and combine the resources.
Go ahead, women.
Diane asked that I just say that one thing that we have now is a federal lobbyist, which, as we listen to your questions and your input, your concerns, we can capture these and roll these into conversations with our lobbyists in an attempt to at least make requests to change the way that our formulas, their policies work. So that's one thing we can do. So this is not a done deal at this point. We can take these and see what we can do to lobby and change things, work with our NACO, other counties, see what we can do.
Commissioner Womack?
Yeah, as chair of Community Action Board, I get a chance to see a lot of your work, so keep up the good work. And I'm glad you mentioned your partnership with Grand Rapids on the lead program, because that was something I was going to bring up. I raised my hand before you brought that up, so I'm glad you did bring that up. And a lot of those funds from the federal government are earmarked to go to certain places, but I have seen you be very creative, and you keep up with the policies. And like I said, with your partnership with Grand Rapids, it's great to see what you're doing with the lead. Do you feel that these programs are adequately funded from the federal government or state, or are there any needs that are coming up, as Wayman mentioned, with having a lobbyist federally, for the county of Kent, that are there any needs that they should be monitoring or should be on his agenda as he's lobbying for this county?
Well, we do see the need for additional funds because out of all the projects that applied for our RFP, we were unable to fund all of the projects that applied, and they all qualified within the definition of a project for CDBG. So it would be nice to have more money so that we could fund all of the projects. As far as filling the gap, I think that what I need to do and what we have been doing is trying to use additional funds from other grants or making grant applications to fill some of the needs, the gaps of services that, are restricted from the CDBG funds. So we're looking at opportunities to apply for grants that could maybe fill gaps.
Okay, thank you very much, and keep up the good work with our moderate and low-income housing and our economic development in these communities. Thank you.
Commissioner Brevy?
Thank you, Chair. I had two questions. The first one was, are you able to use all the funds? And you've answered that, so it's good to hear that you're not having to leave money on the table. We can always use more funds for our community. The second question, I'm wondering if you could highlight some of the upcoming projects that you're planning or, things that you've done in this last year and, what type of projects they are and maybe where in the county they're located.
As I indicated previously, we have a county-wide sidewalk project that will be funded with these funds. I believe there's 8 townships that will benefit from that project. We currently have a $700,000 project in Kentwood for a Veterans Park and splash pad with ADA compliance. We did a cleanup in Salon Township. We rented dumpsters for them in the, I think, coming weeks. And so our projects vary, but we do have several projects going on. We have, also with these funds, we do home rehabilitation to single-family homes, and we're currently revamping that program and getting out the word about that program. So, we have those programs going on. And then we also have, just in the past, we've built a fourplex for disabled persons, and so that they could live independently. So there's a variety of projects going on.
Commissioner Sparks?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to know why Kentwood opted out. You mentioned them earlier.
I'm not sure of their exact reason, but I do know that they had the option of going by themselves, but this decision was made. You know it? Okay, good.
Commissioner Sparks, 2 years ago, we had to reaffirm our urban county status with HUD. Kentwood had an option at that point of going alone, but the projections of funding that they would receive compared to the administrative costs that they would have to ensue to mandate just weren't worth it. And so they wanted to continue to work with us in the partnership that we have as a collective county. So that was the reason.
Okay. Commissioner Wooden?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a few quick questions. One, are we having the same success with getting home dollars out the door as we are with CDBG?
Currently, we're not. We just had an RFP and no one responded. So we're working with the city of Wyoming, because they're in our consortium, to come up with some ideas of how we can get those dollars out. A staff member, my new staff member, just attended a week-long training with HUD for the home dollars and brought back some ideas. So we're working on those. We just didn't have a response.
Completely understandable, especially since the city can get the home dollars out because often there's a LIHTC award that they can leverage it with. So I get that. And I'm glad to hear that there's steps in place. Ahead of the board meeting, could you provide some of those ideas that have been shared with staff or with others to figure out how we can get these home dollars out the door? And then my other question was, just to verify, because there's an RFP process, is the oversight of deciding who gets the awards with Community Action, the Board of Community Action, or is it exclusively with staff?
The oversight is with a review committee, and that's put together with purchasing. Cal Brinks heads that. And then the matrix was developed with the help of our HUD representative and staff.
Thank you very much. And if the chair will permit me, just one last comment, and not necessarily tied to the line of questioning I've had, but the conversation around advocacy of CDBG home and the restrictions with them. Completely understand that frustration. I deal with home myself professionally through the city of Grand Rapids, and it certainly makes you pull your hair out from time to time. I would stress, though, that there is a reason it's targeted. It's largely a response to the damaging effects urban renewal had, and then on top of that, those restrictions that were put in place were largely because there were bad actors. There were stories in the 70s when this was new that municipalities were using CDBG dollars to build really, really nice tennis courts that weren't going to be used by low to moderate income residents because they weren't in low to moderate income neighborhoods, and other nightmare stories like that. So I get the desire to make them more flexible, but I would urge not to, if we're going to advocate for that, not to throw the baby out with the bathwater, and just remembering what the original intent of home and CDBG have been. So, and also thankful that the legislative priorities we do have, including advocating for an increase of these dollars, because there's a point where, especially with home, right now it's hard to get the dollars out the door when there's not a whole lot to attract people to want to run projects, especially if there's not another leveraging source. So, thank you.
Commissioner Voorhees?
Thank you, Madam Chair, for the second time. I'm not that much acquainted with the home program, but so Wyoming can be included in that. So it's different restrictions than CDBGs are. And it's strictly for housing?
Well, not necessarily. There is a housing component, but we also have a tenant-based rental assistance program for about $949,000 that we use it for. So there's different avenues in which we can use the funds.
And those funds are just a bit under $1 million a year, and then if you don't spend the $1 million, it stays with the feds, or what happens if you don't use it all in 1 year?
You don't have to use it all in 1 year. There's cycles, and you have about 5 years to spend the money before HUD would recapture it.
Sure. Anyone else? Okay, I've got one. Can you help me out with the timeline of this? So if finance passes it here, it goes to the board for May 23rd, and then if it passes there, then are you then able as a group to have the funds allocated at that point? Or is there federal connections that have to also go through?
There are federal connections that we would have to go through. We would have to get our award letter from HUD. And they're early this year, which is surprising since they were shut down during the winter. And so they've given us all of our pre-notices so that we could get this, and hopefully we'll have our award letter sometime in June, and we can start this right up on 7/1. Last year, we didn't get our award letter until October. So we're just really hopeful. It's nice to be early and proactive with our funds this year, and not reactive.
Do you have an opportunity to explain this process to the communities that have applied? Do you give them
Yes.
the timeline? Have you done that via email or a letter?
It's via email, plus we had a pre-proposal meeting, and then it's in their letter of award that they cannot begin their projects until we give them the final award that we've gotten the final notice from HUD.
Okay. Yes, Commissioner Womack?
Real quick question, and hopefully it'll be a quick answer, but it's kind of important. Did it show that there were zero funding for people with age that were looking for housing? And if that's true, what opportunities are there for those people that may be severely sick from HIV?
Right. And that funding, we do not qualify for based on the statistics for persons living with AIDS or HIV. And so in our community, we do not have those funds.
Okay. Anyone else?
Just to answer, I think there's only like 23 across the nation.
Anyone else? Thank you very much. Seeing no other comments or questions, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion passes. That brings us to item number 6 from Kent County Community Action. Wayman.
Yes, this is a request of the Board of Commissioners to approve the Kent County Community Action Annual Operating Funding from the City of Grand Rapids, appropriate $130,000 in revenue to the 2019-20 Kent County Community Action Fund. As a part of the Municipal Partnership Agreement dated October 1, 2017, Kent County Community Action will receive its annual allocation of City of Grand Rapids funds for the 34th year since 1985. The allocation of $130,000 includes funding for administrative and supportive expenses. The grant period is July 1, 2019 through June 30 2020.
Is there a motion to approve? So moved. Is there support? Moved and supported. Questions, comments, and discussion? Yes, Commissioner Antor.
Real quick, this is hi for Linda. Linda, looks like we've been in this agreement since 1985, and it cites 2017. Is that an updated contract in 2017?
Yes, it was. It was updated in the context of, not a reorganization, but when Asset and CAA, or the Housing Department, reformulated how they did business. This was just updated in 17.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion passes. That brings us to item number 7 from the Sheriff's Office. Wayman.
Yes, this is a request to accept a secondary road patrol supplemental grant award and appropriate $23,000 to the 2018-19 Sheriff's Secondary Road Patrol Special Project Fund budget, transfer $59,460 from the general fund transfers out budget to the Sheriff's Office General Fund Road Patrol budget, and authorize the board chair or designee to sign all grant documents. The Kent County Sheriff's Office annually receives a grant award from the State of Michigan's Office of Highway Safety to fund the operation of secondary roads grant program. This program enables 3 deputies to focus on road patrol and traffic violations, as well as investigate crashes on secondary roads within the county. The original Office of Highway Safety Planning secondary road grant for fiscal year 2018-19 was $309,000, which was appropriated as a part of the traditional Kent County budget process. In late 2018, the state appropriated an additional $2 million for this program, of which Kent County has received an additional $82,460. The Sheriff's Office has requested that the Secondary Road Patrol Special Project Fund be increased by $23,000 and $59,000 for the county general fund currently allocated to the Secondary Road Patrol budget be transferred to the general fund road patrol budget.
Sure.
The grant period is October 1, 2018 to September 30th, 2019.
Thank you. Is there a motion to
So
approve?
moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Questions, comments, and discussion? Commissioner Burkowski.
Thank you, Chair. Do you know if this is federal money or state money? So did the state get some more GF, or did they find a few extra borrowed dollars?
This is a state grant program, and it's actually a portion of tickets written throughout the state that are collected and then redistributed based on formula back to the counties.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, Commissioner Womack.
I got a question. Sheriff, did I tell you I was proud of you today?
Not yet, sir, thank you.
I'm proud of you. No further questions.
I appreciate that.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. And the motion passes. That brings us to item number 8 on our agenda, which is miscellaneous. Is there any commissioner miscellaneous this morning? Okay, seeing none, we are adjourned. Our next meeting date is May 21st, but I'd like to add that we have our budget, our boot camp this
3 o'clock
Thursday.
Thursday.
So please RSVP for that if you
Yeah,
haven't, if you're interested.
3 o'clock?
3. Yes, because we have an evening board meeting, so it's prior to the evening board meeting.
And then following that, there is a reception for the Excellence in Action. Right before, there will be a few bites to eat before the board meeting at 6.
Okay, we are adjourned.